Hi, welcome to Watch It Played. My name is Rodney Smith, and in this video, we're going to learn the 2 to 5 player game, Century Spice Road, designed by Emerson Matsuuchi and published by Plan B Games. In centuries past, spices carried an air of mystery and allure. Its trade was lucrative and its merchants became wealthy. You're one of those merchants traveling the spice road in your caravan in search of fortune and influence. So join me at the table and let's learn how to play. To set up, shuffle the cards with an orange back into a face-down deck and then deal 5 of them face up. These are known as points cards. Above the one on the far left, place a number of these gold coins equal to 2 times the number of players. We're setting up for a 2-player game in this video, so we'd add 4 gold. Above this pile, do the same thing but with silver coins. So 4 silver goes here. All unused coins can then be returned to the box. The cards with a purple back will make up the merchant's deck, but first go through them face up and set aside the ones with a purple border on their face up side. We'll use those in just a moment. Shuffle the rest and put them in a face down pile here, and then deal 6 face up from the top of the deck. You'll now place out the 4 bowls, each filled with a single color of cube. These represent the spices of the game, and the order is important, so place them exactly like this, with yellow on the bottom, then red, green, and brown on top. Of the purple bordered cards that we set aside earlier, there are 2 different types. Give 1 of each to each player. They'll add these to their hand, and the rest you can return to the box. The caravan cards have this design on the back. Find the one that shows this first player symbol on it, and then add to it a number of cards from those that remain until you have a total that equals the number of players. So in this 2-player game, we'll have 2 cards, returning the rest to the box. You'll shuffle these together and then randomly hand 1 out to each player, having them flip them face up. The player with this caravan is the first player and will collect 3 yellow cubes. In clockwise order from the first player, each other player now collects a number of cubes as indicated by the chart showing on screen. So the second player in our game would take 4 yellow cubes. Each of your cube spices should be placed on one of the empty patterned marks found on your caravan. And that's the setup. In Century Spice Road, you'll play cards from your hand in order to collect, upgrade, and trade spices, which you'll then use to claim these points cards. You'll also be able to add new merchants to your hand, giving you new abilities to use on future turns. The game is played over a series of turns, starting with the first player and then going clockwise around the table. And on your turn, you can perform at most a single action from 4 different options. So let's learn those options right now. For your turn, you might take the acquire action, and this allows you to take any one of these face-up merchant cards into your hand, assuming you can pay any related costs. These will provide you with new effects that you can perform on later turns, as we'll see. You can always take the leftmost merchant for free, but if you want one further to the right, then you must be able to place any one of your spices on each merchant to the left of the card that you're trying to take. So if I wanted this merchant, I would need to place 1 spice here and 1 here. Then I could claim it. However, if I wanted this merchant here, I would need to be able to put a spice also on these 2 cards, and I don't have enough. So for this example, I'll take the one that's here. On a future turn, if a player acquires a card with cubes on it, then they get to add those cubes to their caravan as well as claiming the card. Also note, there is no limit to the number of merchants you can acquire over the course of the game. And finally, at the end of this action, slide any cards as necessary to the left to create an empty slot beside the merchant deck, and then draw a new merchant for that slot. Instead of acquiring a card on your turn, you might choose the play action. And to do this, you simply choose a merchant card from your hand to play face up in front of you, and then you resolve its effect. Keep in mind, on a future turn, you can't play a card if it's already on the table. So on my next turn, if I want to play a card, I'd only have this one as an option. But as we saw, it's possible to acquire new cards, which will allow you to have more cards in hand to play. Now there are 3 general types of effects that a merchant can create. If you see just cubes listed here, then this is a spice card, and you simply take from the bowls the spices shown, adding them to your caravan. As I said earlier, you normally place cubes on the markings of your caravan card. However, if you gain more than the 10 spaces allow, that's okay. But at the end of your action, you must then return any cubes of your choosing back to the bowls so that you don't exceed 10. Also, if you would ever run out of spices to take from the bowls and you are owed some, then just use anything as a suitable replacement. But I would avoid using actual spices because that would just make a big mess. Another type of card you can play is an upgrade. You'll start with one of these and it will show an arrow pointing upwards at the top. The number of gray cubes beneath it represents the number of steps that you can upgrade. So you would read this effect as upgrade 2 steps. For example, I could upgrade this yellow spice 1 step and gain a red spice, and then upgrade this yellow spice to a red one as well. Or instead, I could have hung on to one of those yellow spices, and the other one I could have upgraded 2 steps and then gained this green spice. How you assign your upgrades is up to you. Just remember, as we saw in the setup, the orders of the bowls represent the upgrade steps. I should also mention that the upgrade steps are optional. In other words, you don't have to perform all the upgrades that you're owed if you don't want to. In other words, I could play this and simply upgrade one of my cubes and not upgrade any further. Sometimes you'll do this if upgrading more spices would actually cause you to lose a spice that you need to satisfy the cost on a point card. The final type of ability you can gain from playing a merchant is to trade, which looks like this. For every set of the cubes shown above the down arrow that you choose to return from your caravan to the bowls, you may then collect the cubes pictured below the arrow. So when playing this merchant, while I could just trade in 2 yellow cubes in order to claim a green spice, I'm allowed to perform this trade as many times as I want during this same action, so I could also trade in 2 more yellow cubes and then gain a second green spice. Eventually, the other actions might not interest you, or you may simply not have a card in your hand to play and you'd like to get the ones back that you've already used. So another action that you can instead take on your turn is to rest, which allows you to take all of the face-up cards in front of you back into your hand. And finally, we come to the last action, claiming a point card. You do this by returning from your caravan to the bowls the cubes pictured on the bottom of the card that you wish to claim. Right now, I do have enough spices to be able to claim the points card that's featured here, so I'll return these to the bowl, and then I can pick this one up and place it face down in front of myself. If you claimed from this space, you also collect a gold coin, or you'd gain a silver coin if you took from this space. Over the course of the game, if the final gold coin is ever taken, you then slide any remaining silver coins to this position. Speaking of which, when a point card is taken, you then slide cards as necessary to the left to create a space beside the orange deck, and then draw a new point card to fill in the slot. In a 4 or 5 player game, once someone takes their 5th point card, or their 6th in a 2 or 3 player game, then the game will end once you've ensured that everyone has had an equal number of turns. In other words, as the first player, if I take my 6th point card in a 2-player game, then my opponent still gets 1 more turn, and then the game ends. However, if it had been my opponent who had collected their 6th point card, then the game would end immediately. Now have the players count up the values on all of their points cards and add 3 to that for every gold coin they have, and 1 point for every silver. They then gain 1 more point for each non-yellow spice that they have in their caravan. The player with the most points wins. In the case of a tie, the tied player who last took a turn wins. And that's everything you need to know to play Century Spice Road. I should mention, at the time of this recording, they've announced that they'll be releasing expansions for this game both in 2018 and 2019. And these are standalone expansions, meaning that you can just play those on their own or combine them with other sets to give you more variety. If you have any questions about anything that you saw here, don't hesitate to put them in the comments below and I'll gladly answer them as soon as I get a chance. But until the next episode, thanks for watching.